Welcome back to the Road to National series. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through a lower deload workout. So I decided to start off with some safety squat bar for reps. I did 150 kilos for 2 sets of 5. So just taking advantage of the new safety squat bar. It feels so good. If you're looking for a safety squat bar, I have used one before in a different commercial gym, but this just feels so much better, so much more solid. It is the Strength Shop Riot safety squat bar. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. It's just that it is a really good bar, and it's rated to really heavy weight. So here, literally there's like no flex on the bar at all because it's an axle design. It is really good. So I was happy with those squats. They moved nice and easily. Then moving on to the first accessory, it was Good Morning, sticking with this safety squat bar. So because with the safety squat bar, it puts you in like a high bar position, the padding raises the bar, it increases the turning moment when doing Good Morning, so it makes them really challenging. But with the padding and the camber on the bar, it's still really comfortable. So it is by far my favorite variation of Good Mornings I've done. Before this, I used to use my open trap bar as a camber bar. That is a good substitute. I actually really don't like doing Good Mornings with regular barbells because I find in the bottom position they roll up your neck. But this was really comfortable, and for this deload week I decided to go light. I think I did 2 sets of 15 at 70 kilos. I could probably have done sets of 20, but at the time of recording this, it's the following day. My hamstrings are actually pretty sore, so I'm happy that I just went to where I did. Obviously, during your deload weeks, you're trying to recover optimally. That is what you're prioritizing, and you're trying to prime yourself for your next block of training. So I'm glad that I didn't push much harder. The last deload week I took like 4 weeks ago, I think I was still training way too hard for deloads. I sort of took a double deload week. It was a bit of a disaster when I tried to come back. You can see that if you go and watch earlier in the series. But I think that's one of the reasons why, is I was trying to push too hard, and then coming back to regular training, everything just fell apart a bit. But you can go back and see that if you'd like. Then the next accessory here was quad extensions. Again, I decided to stay light with these. So I did 2 sets of 20 just at 60 pounds. Now, with a dual leg quad extension, I can do like 120 to 150 pounds for sort of working weight. So this is literally like half as heavy, and 20 reps was really comfortable and easy on the first set. On the second set, there was a bit of a burn. I think the reasoning for that is the work capacity of most of my muscles has dropped quite a lot since starting powerlifting training. When I used to do other types of sports, obviously the effort is much longer, there is more of a stamina component, and my 20 rep maxes weren't that much like lighter than my 10 rep maxes. However, now, like even if I go really light like I have done here, this is like less than half of my normal working weight, I struggle to get 20 reps for 2 sets just because I get really pumped in the muscle even with a light weight, and I think my work capacity is down. So I am going to try and do more higher rep sets like this and reintroduce my GPP workouts. I am feeling recovered enough to do that. The reason that I've been neglecting those has been, again, I think I've been training a bit too hard, particularly on the accessories and on the deload. So my fatigue has been like unbelievable if you took like my training a month, 2 months ago. But I've got that back on track now. So the next accessory here was calf raises. I decided to use the safety squat bar because it's really comfortable, and you'll see that my hands aren't actually on the handles of the safety squat bar, and it still rests on my back really nicely. It doesn't feel like it's going to slip off. I'm just grabbing the rack to make sure that I don't fall over, and I think I got a set of 15 or 20 on the first set, and then like a set of 15 or 13 on the set. I can't actually remember what I got, but pumped up the calves a bit. That's probably the heaviest exercise I did relative. I have gone much heavier on calf raises, like 160 kilos before, but 100 kilos is almost like my working weight for higher rep sets. So yeah, I didn't really deload the calves that much, but I find that the calves can handle like way more volume. You're walking around on them all the time. If you want to get them bigger and stronger, the key is to then train them heavier because they're used to walking around all the time. One of the myths that I see perpetuated within the fitness industry is to train your calves really light because they're used to being walked around on all the time. They've got a higher work capacity. No, if that's not yielding gains for the calves, you need to change the stimulus on the calves and apply a heavier, higher load stimulus to them. But just there, I was basically able to load them as heavy as normal, and I do find that they can recover much quicker because they're used to being walked around on all the time. So the next accessory here was hip abductions. Went really light at 20 pounds on these. However, my machine, my pulleys aren't particularly smooth, so it was probably much harder than that, but they moved pretty well. There was a massive discrepancy in strength though from side to side. The first side was way stronger, so that's something I'm going to look to address. My body in general, I'm pretty symmetric in terms of strength, but I definitely wasn't on those hip abductions. Other than that, I really enjoyed doing them with the cable. Then the final accessory here was just some grip work. I decided to just do some axle bar holds, some isometric grip work for basically deadlift grips. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm experiencing a little bit of wrist pain. I talked about that more in the last video. It's a bit annoying, but I'm hoping that this strengthening the grip will help eliminate that wrist pain. So that is it for today's video. I hope you did in fact enjoy the video. If you did, drop it a like, drop a comment, subscribe, click the bell, all that good stuff, and have a great day.